Okay, so we are walking through the 5 steps to come to a relationship with Jesus. Step one was a grateful heart, realizing that God gave us this life, gave us our lives. It's a gift from Him. We did nothing to earn it, and we should have a heart of gratitude for that to start with. Second of all, to understand that this great, majestic, eternal God knows us and wants a relationship with each one of us. Now, that brings us to the third step, which is we have a problem, and that is sin and its consequences. I really want to dig into this. It's a really important topic, so it's going to take a little while to unpack this for you. Let me start by just posing this question. Would you consider yourself to be a good person? Now, most people would say yes to that. Basically, I'm a good person, try to do good things, live a good life and such. But what if I asked, are you a perfect person? Now, most people would say no to that. They're not a perfect person. So I would ask you, what is it that came to your mind to make you decide that you're not a perfect person? Whatever that thing is, that's an area of sin for you, possibly, that can be taken a look at and dug into. So whatever came to your mind is an area of sin for you. Now, we know what sin is a couple ways. There are certain scriptures in the New Testament. I'm going to list them here. I won't go through them, but you can read those on your own. But basically, we know what sin is by the Ten Commandments. They were given to Moses by God. And just quickly, they are, you'll have no other gods before me. Anything that gets in the way of you putting God first is a sin. It gets in the way of God. You will not create an idol for yourself. You will not misuse the name of God. If you use God's name as a curse word, that is a sin. You will remember the Sabbath day, taking one day out of the week, setting it aside to rest, to get away from work. Those first 4 are between you and God. The next 6 are between you and people. The 5th one is honor your father and your mother. The sixth is about murder. The 7th about adultery. The 8th about stealing. The 9th about lying, false testimony. And the last is about coveting your neighbor's stuff. Now, that is the law. That's how we know what sin is. But Jesus took things to a different level. He took it to the intent level. Jesus took the law from the physical letter of the law to the emotional intent of the law. So as you think about those things that came to your mind, listen to what Jesus had to say about the law, about murder. You've heard it said that to people long ago, you shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Anyone who says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell. So it's about being angry with somebody, calling somebody an idiot or you jerk. That is murder of the emotions. Is that what came to your mind? Your anger? Maybe bitterness or jealousy or resentment? Jesus said that is murder of the emotions. About adultery, he said, you have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So it is, if you just look at another person with desire and lust, that is the same as committing adultery. Is that what came to your mind? Maybe pornography, fornication, or lust? Jesus took it to the deeper level. About stealing, he didn't address stealing specifically, but he might have said, you may not have stolen anything physically, But what about emotionally? Have you stolen anybody's self-esteem? Have you held them back in any way, taken their emotions away from them and holding them back because of some pride or ego that you have? Is that what came to your mind? So it's no longer about just murder as being physical. It's murder emotionally and adultery emotionally and stealing emotionally. So it's a different level of sin that Jesus brought to us. Now, there's another way to think about sin, and that is there anything in your life that you feel guilty about or shame about? Anything your maybe causes you fear or stress? All those things, blame, shame, guilt, fear, stress, those are not from God. Those are from the world. God is love, and perfect love casts out those things. So if that's what you're feeling, those might be indications or a source of sin for you. So I want you to get a handle on that everyone has sinned and we all fall short. But the real crux of this thing is not just so much the sin itself, but the consequence of the sin. Now, the consequence of the sin is death, and it is eternal. It's not just, I'm going to die and that's going to be it. We are eternal beings, and we are either going to be in heaven with God forever, or we are going to be in hell forever. And hell is not a place, it's of fun. It's not, yeah, we're going to go party and this and that. It's not that way. Listen to how the Bible describes hell: shame and everlasting contempt, everlasting punishment, fire unquenchable, indignation and wrath and tribulation and anguish. This is not a good place. This is not a place you want to be. And this is why I'm pounding this so hard. I don't want you to go there. I want you to know about this. And it's really important. It's eternal fire, the blackness of darkness forever. Listen to what Jesus said about hell. He said that Jesus said about hell that their worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. Now, he's quoting from Isaiah 66:24. Let me share this with you. They will go out and look on the dead bodies of those who rebelled against me. The worms that eat them will not die. The fire that burns them will not be quenched, and they will be loathsome to all mankind. Can you imagine a place like that? It's a cesspool of anguish and agony, and you don't want to go there, but it is the place God has set aside for those who are against him, who don't come to him, and are set apart from him by their sins. And I wonder if the worm does not die because there are more people coming. It's just a never-ending flow of people who are ending up there. So I'm really pounding this home because I want you to get a really handle on this, because this is what it's all about. This is the real crux of why we come to Jesus, is the real value of what Jesus did. Because in our current state, that's where we're headed. We're separated from God. We're heading to hell, and it's not somewhere you want to go, and I don't want you to go there. I want you to get this. You know, I want to take this one step further and talk a little bit about how this all came about. It all started in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. You know, there was never any pain or suffering or death or anything like that. In Genesis 2:25, the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and care for it. And the Lord God commanded the man, you are free to eat from any tree in the garden. So God gave him everything he needed. Everything was taken care of. But you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it, you will certainly die. That's Genesis 2:16-13. So right there, God laid the one rule. He gave everything Adam and Eve needed. He provided for them. There was no death or anything like that. And listen to this, in Genesis 2:25, the man and the woman were both naked and felt no shame. Can you imagine that? That was the state they were in before sin came into the world, before they ate the fruit. They were naked and unashamed. It goes on to when they did sin and disobeyed the one rule of God. When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were open. Listen to this. And they realized they were naked. That's when they realized they were naked. Shame came into the world then. Guilt came into the world then. That's when it started, is when they disobeyed God, the one rule he gave them, and ate. So they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. Now, let me finish and follow this up with this. It's fascinating. It brings it all together. Then the man and his wife heard the sound of the Lord God as he was walking in the garden of the cool of the day, and they hid from the Lord God among the trees of the garden. So when they were originally in a state of fellowship with God, now after they've sinned, now they're hiding from God. That's when guilt came in. They felt guilty. They felt ashamed. But the Lord God called to the man, "Where are you?" He answered, "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." That never happened before until sin came into the world. And that's what we do. We hide from God. We feel guilty. We feel shame about our sin, and we hide from God. And he said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree?" He knew they ate from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from. The man said, listen to this. The man said, "The woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree and I ate it." So this is now blame comes into the story. And not only is he blaming the woman, he's blaming God for giving him the woman. Oh my goodness. "And I ate it. Then the Lord God said to the woman, 'What is this you have done?' The woman said, 'The serpent deceived me and I ate.'" So now she's blaming the serpent. So now once sin came into the world, you have blame, you have guilt, you have shame, you have hiding from God. That's when it all started. And again, I'm pounding this home. I'm spending a lot of time on this. This video is a little longer than I usually like to do, but it's so important. It's the crux of the whole thing. Now, God gives you control. He gives us control over the decision to sin or not, but he does not give us this control over the consequence. That is death. That is eternity in hell. So the sins are many, but the consequence is just one. But, I want you to know that there is hope. There is hope. And that's what we're going to talk about next. So I just wanted to drive this one point home. Sin and its consequences is what we have to understand. There is hope, and that is understanding God's grace. And that's coming up next.